let's move on to further fruits of diversity, because there's been a lot of them. Diversity is all the rage. We know that it's good for us. And we also know that 90% of the people who have illegally arrived here have been men, fighting age men, incidentally. It's just not a question. The government keeps the statistics and x-rays their teeth. So we know exactly how old they are at this point. And this is a very interesting thread from a guy called Elmer on Twitter, who's just gone through and here, I mean, the distribution of asylum seekers by nationality, 2019-2023. I mean, as you can see the charts, almost all very weighted towards men. And I mean, look at Egypt. Why are we taking asylum seekers from Egypt? You know, Pakistan, Iraq, but as you can see, they're all very distributed towards the 20 to sort of 30 range, or sort of 15, 30. So it is the sort of men who would otherwise in previous eras be conscripted into the Lord's retinue or army to go and fight for the kingdom, right? And massive amounts of them are given asylum. Why are we taking asylum seekers from Sri Lanka or Algeria?
I don't understand. None
China?
of these countries are at war.
Vietnam, Nigeria,
Vietnam hasn't been at war for quite some time, yeah.
Yeah, when was the last time Kuwait? I mean, El Salvador. We're going to be applying for refugee status there.
Yeah,
right?
all the criminals are fleeing. Those
Turkey,
oppressive standards.
the popular holiday destination of Turkey, and we accept 90% of the asylum seekers from Turkey. Like, what is happening, man? This is mad, right? So anyway, moving on, we're mental. Like somewhere like Libya, I could actually understand. Like, you know, I'm not saying it's necessarily a good thing, but at least, you know, there has been a war there. It is a failed state. There is a reason that people would seek asylum from Libya. Vietnam.
Same with Sudan as well, yeah.
Yeah, same with Sudan. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Like I say, I'm not saying I'm in favor of it.
No.
But like, you know, there are just India. What are you talking about India? Why are there any asylum seekers from India? Nepal? Like,
we've got loads of Indians already.
yeah, exactly. You don't need to.
We've got Indians at home.
Pakistan. It's like 50%, 60% of Pakistani asylum seekers are granted.
None of these people, not one of them, is our problem.
Qualify. They don't qualify as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, moving on. I would move on if the focus was on there. So what we're getting for our money is massive amounts of fraud on the benefit system, right? Now, I'm sure there's someone who's going to say, well, isn't this just native British people committing fraud against your benefit system? And to that, I would say probably not. Obviously, we don't have the breakdown of it, unfortunately. But as you can see here, fraud and error, losses by benefit, this 6.46 million, so 6.5 billion, basically, in fraud every year.
It's astronomical, isn't it? It's so much money. I think people forget just how much money the government's throwing around here.
It's unbelievable. And so this guy was like, well, fraud and error are not the same thing. He's like, good point. They're broken down. Fraud is 5.1% of all the losses, of all the total, 7.3 billion, and error only accounts for 1.5 billion. So, okay, we spend 1.5 billion in making mistakes. Fair enough. But
that's only claimant error as well. There's also official error. Which is another 780 million.
Yeah. But, okay, yeah, it's mostly fraud, right? We're getting unbelievably defrauded. And then it's like, okay, well, what about the NHS? Now, the NHS technically, on the books, is not supposed to give treatment to illegal immigrants. Actually, I think they're a carve-out for illegal, for the asylum seekers. But for most immigrants who are in the country, they're not supposed to allow you to do it. But the thing is, as Migration Watch point out, they just don't check. So when you go to the NHS ward and you see a bunch of people who don't speak English there, the NHS just doesn't charge them. They don't find out where they don't identify them or charge them. So we're losing about 400 million each year on just health tourism. It's like, right, okay, so we have an international health service, great. And this is known about by, okay, we're missing a link there, but don't worry. So there was the massive benefit ring fraud that came out the other day, where 5 members of an organised criminal gang falsely claimed £53 million. 5 people claiming £53 million in England and Wales. They were jailed for about a decade, something like that. There we go. There's the Crown Prosecution Service's posts on it.
They don't look very English, do they?
No, they were Bulgarian.
Of course.
And so it's like, right, so we're paying out huge amounts of money. We're getting actively defrauded. And when, when we're paying out for the health costs of illegal migrants, like this is the kind of response that you get. Oh, asylum seekers smashing up Farnham Road Hospital in the UK. Why would they be doing that?
Well, I actually looked into this.
Oh yeah, go on.
So he was angry because he wasn't getting as much money as he wanted.
Wow. Imagine the gratitude. Imagine the absolute gratitude of these people.
And all that is a political choice.
All of this is a political choice. All of this is being done by policy, by government policy. Anyway, so that's us saving the world using our benefits system to make their lives better. Don't they deserve it? But we need them, you see. We need asylum seekers because business owners are like, well, hang on a second. We need skills for the economy. Ah, yes. The skilled people who we're bringing in to support the economy.
I'm sure the window companies are paying them a lot, aren't they?
I'm sure Deliveroo. Yeah. But and so the business leaders are like, well, look, I mean, we need foreign workers to help ease labour shortages. Because Keir Starmer decided he was based and far right and was like, actually, maybe a net figure of 700,000 a year has to come down and actually can't be sustained.
Also, the economics behind this are just wrong. Actually, you don't need to fill jobs, and actually having vacant jobs is a sign of a healthy economy.
Yeah.
Also, that they're justifying it by saying, well, we've got an aging population and they're a sub-replacement birth rate, therefore we need to import foreigners. But isn't that just kicking the can down the road anyway?
Yes, it is. And we'll get to more of that in a second, actually. Because, I mean, Starmer has actually made a good point here. Businesses have become far too reliant on workers from overseas, and Labour would train Britons to do jobs in areas where there were labour shortages. That's a great idea. But let's look at some examples of how the industries in this country have become really, really lazy and reliant on foreign workers. So what about pilots? That was only 4 years ago. Pakistani pilots grounded over fake licenses. Feeling confident about flying these days, are we?
I mean, airlines, if only there was something that happened with fake airline passports and an airplane in the early 2000s. I mean, that's what it's setting up for, right?
No, it doesn't even matter, right? There's not setting up terrorism. They're setting up for incompetence, right? Because it turns out that countries outside of the West actually have much lower standards when it comes to things like fraud, when it comes to just questions of honesty. And they don't seem to care. They don't seem to understand that the reason their countries are not as efficient and productive as the West is because they allow these things to happen.
It is accepted as inevitable.
Exactly.
Which is very worrying when we see politicians in the West trying to tell people that this is inevitable, that you have zero choice over the matter.
And also, it's also very concerning when politicians say, well, we'll just get foreign experts or, skilled people from overseas. And it's like, well, hang on a second. They're not all the same. These standards are not interchangeable. If these people come from countries where they just treat corruption and lying as an inevitability of life and they're not really bothered about it, then it's not a surprise that foreign doctors are 13 times more likely to be investigated for incompetence than native doctors. Why would that be?
It turns out voodoo medicine's not as good as it.
It's not even voodoo medicine. It's qualification fraud. Like these people come from cultures where fraud is a normal part of life, where corruption is a normal part of life. We're like, yeah, well, I mean, look, he's got a degree that says he's a perfectly qualified doctor. Who am I to disagree with it? It's like, yeah, no further thought necessary, bro. It's only people's lives on the line. It's only an airline. It's only a doctor. It's only people who are like literally unqualified foreign nurses who get access to the drug supply of the NHS and just start handing it out, whether it's needed or not. This is total institutional corruption. And it's just mad how it takes Keir Starmer being like, well, I mean, the problem is you're just becoming over-reliant on these people. It's like, can we not talk about the quality of the people themselves? Right? And to your point, economically, it's not even true, right, that we need these people. According to the labour force, and this has been true for years, right? As you can see, this is from 2002. This is a point that's been hammered home for over 20 years now. There are hundreds of thousands of people unemployed. If you have job vacancies, you should train those people. This is an old point. Again, it's such an old point, and it's still just as true today that we are not training our own people. And Keir Starmer's like, I'm going to train our own people, guys. It's like, okay, when? Get on with it. This should have been priority one. But anyway, so that's just the economics of it, right? Let's get to the social enrichment of it. So just incredible how, like, you've just got machetes and knife attacks everywhere. On the bus, in a taxi. How about after calling AAA after a car accident? Like, what is happening, man? But then what about the Deliveroo driver who was just spotted the other day going about his Deliveroo deliveries, presumably, with a bloody machete? What is this person doing in our country? Sorry, he's just riding around with a machete. It's totally normal. It's totally normal. This is what happens, man. And so when I hear things like this, like, oh, what we need is greater diversity in hiking. No. I don't really want greater diversity in hiking, to be honest.
The whole justification for this, which is stupid from the outset, is that I don't feel comfortable in the countryside because there are too many white people. Well, good. It's one of the places we've been pushed to. We've already been pushed out of our cities.
Yeah, but even then, okay, like, I don't want machete guys coming to the countryside.
I don't want them here at all, no.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but anyway, so I love this. This is just the most preposterous nonsense in the world, right?
I'm a black Scottish adventurer. Of course, I leave no trace.
I'm a black Scottish adventurer. Of course, I exercise my right to roam responsibly here in Scotland.
I'm a black Scottish adventurer. Of course, I'm aware of the benefit of spending time with nature.
I'm a black Scottish adventurer. Of course, I'm breaking barriers.
I'm stereotyped.
None of these people are Scottish.
No, they're not.
None of these people, they've all got African accents. They're all obviously recent immigrants, and they're lied to. They're being lied to, and they're lying to us, call themselves black Scottish adventurers. So great. There is an active push to get these people to come into the countryside, to come into the shires. And what are they going to bring with them? They're going to bring enrichment, obviously. So in Derbyshire, there's a place called the Dovedale Stepping Stones. I've never actually been there, but apparently it's a lovely area next to a crossing a river. And of course, there was a migrant brawl there over some nonsense, like someone was trying to get a wheelchair across, and apparently they don't know how to queue, and so there's a massive brawl. And it's like, oh, for God's sake.
The tranquility of the spot and the fact that they've turned it into what looks like the southern US border here.
Yeah.
You know, it's such an abomination. It reminds me in a way of the desecration of Stonehenge by Just Stop Oil.
Yeah.
In that these are the parts of England that should be considered sacred to us, these beautiful parts of our countryside that we should be preserving. And these people are coming here, not respecting it, turning it into what looks like, I don't know, some North African market or something.
We'll get to North African markets in a minute. So they've brought their enriching culture with them, which is wonderful because that's what multiculturalism is. And then you'll get like people coming back from the pub. You find just some guy taking a dump in your front yard, even though you've got a sign that says "Don't take a dump in my front yard."
The fact that sign had to exist, just like.
The guy obviously doesn't speak English.
There are so many Indians in his front garden that he's got to write a sign saying, please don't go to the toilet in my front garden.
But the guy obviously doesn't speak English, so we can't read your bloody sign. But this is totally normal, remember? There's constant, they're on the beach, they feel the urge, they may as well. It's always open, isn't it?
I sent a video to Stelios recently of an Indian just in the bush, basically, going to the toilet, and he got bitten by a 15-foot python.
Jesus.
It's like, there are reasons why you don't do this sort of thing, right?
But anyway, just to finish this off, and so, I mean, they are going to settle in and make the place their own. Ipswich Bazaar has taken over the former Woolworths and Poundland site in Ipswich Town Centre, because, of course, the town centre is going down like every town centre is. And so they're here to save it with diversity and multiculturalism. Amazing.
Also, this picture doesn't look very diverse, does it?
No, not really. It looks rather South Asian. But what do I know? But yeah, this is just what diversity has brought to our country. These are the fruits of diversity, and I'm really tired of them.
I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters. And if you want to see what else we're doing, you can follow our series Lads Hour, where we have a lot of fun. This is where we have a laugh, a bit of a joke, and have fun. Bit of an antidote to our regular depressing news coverage. And if you want to see what else we're doing, you can follow us on Twitter, where we share links to everything we put out so you don't miss a single thing. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.